On this episode of Get Real Business, we're talking about branding and the use of social media with Boots and Pieces. So Ryan, tell us, what is Boots and Pieces?
So at Boots and Pieces, we specialise in custom football boots. So we work with grassroots amateur players right the way to the top level of the game. Provide a number of services, including the stud conversion, a custom blackout service, and other bits and bobs like personalisation, as well as a range of products like grip socks, shin pads, and everything else football related.
So Ryan, a professional footballer comes to you. He's got an idea for boots. He wants the kind of studs changed perhaps, or he wants the colours changed. So talk us through how it works from a sort of technical point of view, what you have to do.
Yeah, so the stud conversion is definitely the most popular service, and it's basically changing a pair of boots from firm ground, so moulded studs, into SG or metal studs. So the process just involves taking off the plastic studs, kind of putting small threaded inserts into the sole, and then the SG studs screw in.
So in terms of the wider marketing of the business, obviously you came up with the name Boots and Pieces. It might seem really obvious to most people, but was that the only name, or were there other names that you considered before you landed on Boots and Pieces?
No, to be honest, Boots and Pieces was the first name that came to my head, so obviously it's based on the song Bits and Pieces. Yeah, it just stuck, like the ring to it, got a few okays from friends and family, and then just went ahead.
Now, an important part of any business is establishing the brand, but it doesn't just mean the logo. Often means the values and the vision and what the business wants to be renowned for. Is that something you feel is important to Boots and Pieces?
Yeah, it's something I'm really working on at the moment, trying to build more of a brand culture rather than just being a wee guy that converts football boots. I want to be more of a proper brand. So yeah, it's something we're working on at the moment through different things like email marketing, try to really engage with our existing customers, and then still trying to reach new customers through social media.
Now, in terms of promoting and advertising the business, you've had a lot of success from Instagram. Has that been your main vehicle for growing the business?
Yeah, I would say probably as high as 80-90% of my sales probably come through organic sources like Instagram and Facebook. So it's always been really, really important, something I've really focused on, and just trying to provide like good quality content that people seem to like and engage with. So I'm really consistent with my posting. It is pretty much every day. I was every day probably for 2 years up until just recently, and I went through a stage of changing it to every other day, and now kind of back to posting every day. I'm lucky that I've got that many boots coming in. There's just a constant stream of content. But yeah, I think being consistent, even if it's every other day or once a week, just being consistent with it is probably the most important thing, because I think Instagram picks up on that and the algorithm. So it's just really finding what works for you, but I've found that posting almost every day seems to do the trick.
A lot of businesses will pay people to do that for them. Might pay a kind of influencer to do this sort of hard graft. Is that something you've considered, or do you think you would lose what the business is about if you kind of gave it over to somebody else to do the actual social media for you, and or an influencer, for example?
Yeah, I've not really thought about it, to be honest. I think the content that I put out is pretty good at the moment, and people seem to like it. So I think until that kind of takes a nosedive, then I'll just stick with what we're doing at the moment. Maybe call myself an influencer.
Now, in terms of other platforms on social media like X and TikTok, is that something you've looked at and considered and used?
Yeah, no, so I've got quite a big following on TikTok as well, but I don't use it much at all anymore. I just found the audience wasn't the same as Instagram. I felt like there was a better quality audience coming through Instagram, leading to more sales. But to be honest, I should probably pick back up on TikTok, because I know that a lot of young folk use it.
Now, in terms of social media, you could spend an awful lot of time on Instagram all day, but you've also got to do the manufacturing side of the football. But do you find that's difficult to sit and manage your time and making sure you're not literally working 24 hours a day?
I mean, in the office, I try and stick to like a 9 to 5. That's kind of what I've always worked in finance. They were kind of Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. But switching off after that time is probably non-existent. So I spend a lot of time kind of answering emails, answering DMs and stuff, and as you said, posting content as well. So it never really stops, to be honest. But I'm trying to get better at managing that.
So when you started, you had maybe some junior players, some family and friends that were buying your first football boots. But who was your first big professional player that bought from Boots and Pieces?
Yeah, so Paul Hanlon at Hibs, done a stud conversion for him way back at the start, probably a few months into starting the business. So that was a bit scary, but I got a lot of work off the back of it through teammates and then other teams within the SPL, and it kind of just snowballed from there.
So I hope you enjoyed the video there and it brought the subject to life for you. Now, if you haven't done so already, then either yourself or your teacher can download the case study with more questions and activities to learn a little bit more. And of course, you can follow us on our socials, get involved and do so at Get Real Business. Hopefully, you'll watch another video and bring the subject to life.